We're going to dive right into solving some literal equations. We're going to solve for z. So you're going to use all your solving skills that you have, except for we're going to isolate a variable instead of getting z equals 5. So instead of distributing, I like to divide this out. So we have x over y equals w plus 2z. I left a little space in here because I want to subtract out that w so we can get rid of those. So now we have x over y minus w equals 2z, and eventually we're going to divide by 2. That would create a complex fraction here. So what I'd like to do is take this and multiply it by 1/2, because that would be the same thing. So we get z equals, and then this may be one of those acceptable answers that you'll see like an SAT style question. If we have to do anything else, we're going to distribute. That'd be the other way you might see it. Solving for r, I see this one, we have r squared. So first thing we do is get r squared by itself. So we're going to divide out that 4 pi. So everything's hunky-dory so far. And here we're just trying to remember, how do you get rid of the square? Well, that means we're going to take the square root of it. Remember, the square root and the square cancel each other out. So that's where we're at to rearrange that equation. Remember, that's literal equations. The next item we have is solving some equations involving fractions. So what we're going to do is look for that least common denominator, right? You're thinking the least common multiple of the denominators. So we call it an LCD instead of an LCM. And this is called clearing those fractions. So when I look here and I see 5 and 10, right, I want to multiply the whole thing by 10. So what happens is 10 divided by 5 gives me 2. So it becomes 4x minus 10, because I do have to distribute to every single term in here. This 10 divides out with the 10, so now it's 7x plus 20. Don't forget the very last term. So we get to solve some of these. We're going to move our x's on one side and everything else on the other. So here I might choose to subtract 4x and subtract 20 while we're doing it. So I get 3y, 3x equals negative 30. X is negative 10. All right, that took up a little bit of space out of here, but you see what we're going to do is 8 and 4. So we're going to multiply by 8. That'll clear some things up. So the entire left-hand side becomes 5y minus 2. It equals 16, because this is over 1, so nothing cancels, plus 2y, because the 8 divided by 4 gives me the 2. And now we'll simply work through here. Subtract the 2y, we get 3y. We're going to add the 2 to get 18 divided by 3 to get y equals 6. Okay, so just doing some solving of fractions here. And we got one more on our list here. We get 4, 6, and 12. Okay, the least common denominator is going to be 12. And I want to go ahead and do all of this before I do any distributing, otherwise I'd have more terms to deal with. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, but there's already 3, so this becomes 9 times x plus 5, plus 6 divided by, or 12 divided by 6 is going to be your 2, equals 12x, and minus 1. All right, so we do want to clean up this left-hand side just a little bit. 9x plus 45 plus 2, so let's make that 47. Bring down the 9x. We get 12x minus 1. All right, let's subtract our 9. And we'll add our 1. So we got 3x. We got 48. And we got x equals 16. All right, so clearing fractions, hopefully that was something you hit pretty good in Algebra 2, so we know to get rid of all those fractions. A lot easier to work with. You don't have to worry about common denominators, add and subtract. And if you go way back to probably 8th grade or before, one of our favorite things to do is to cross multiply. Remember, you have to have simply 2 fractions that equal to each other to do that. So I'll try and color code this one. So I get 2 times x plus 1 equals, I don't have a blue, this will be, I don't like that at all. This is close enough to blue. Equals 3 times x minus 1. And if you're having a super awesome day, then you're going to go ahead and distribute that while you're doing it. I just want to make sure I show where everything came from. 2x plus 2, 3x minus 3, I'm going to subtract the 2 to get x, and I'm going to add the 3 to get 5. So we're in good shape there. So cross multiply, don't forget that is the strategy you can use. No matter how complex it looks, we can always do that. All right, solving double inequalities. So we want to make sure the variable stays in the middle. So although some people really like to have that variable on the left, here it's going to stay in the middle, and we technically have all 3 sides, right? So when I go to get rid of this 3 and I multiply by 3, we want to do that to all 3 sides. So it kind of looks like clearing the fractions like we were doing before. So now I get -9 is less than 2x plus 5, which is less than or equal to 15. Then we're going to start getting rid of the 5. So you can see I'm just going to work all 3 parts of this inequality all at the same time. -14 less than 2x less than or equal to 10, and divide by 2. And since I'm dividing by a +2, I don't have to worry about changing any inequalities here. So -7 less than or equal to 5. So x is going to be greater than -7, less than 5, and we could throw that on the number line if we want to check all those things out. All right, let's try it again, and you can see we're eventually going to divide by this -2. So that's the part I was trying to remind you of just a minute ago. So let's get it front and center for us. We're going to multiply by 5. Okay, so we can consider it the way we're working with fractions up above. So we get 50 and 30, so we get 80 less than 8 minus 2x less than or equal to 100. Let's get rid of the 8 all over the place. And divide it by -2. So while we're doing this one, I'm just going to kind of highlight a little bit there. Then we want to make sure we flip-flop a lot of these things as we work through here. So x, we're now going to be greater than or equal to 46. And it's now negative. And we're going to use a greater than sign. If you read it from the x, it's less than. And we're at -36. All right, and it looks like we have one more. We're gonna kind of throw a lot of this stuff all together, so we'll see how it comes out. We want to make sure that we are being consistent on how we put things together and move things around, but the first thing we're gonna do is clear all these fractions. The common denominator would have been 12, so it's the least common denominators. So we're gonna go ahead and distribute to all 4 terms here. Keep in mind there are 2 terms on the right. Don't let the binomial stuff on the left get you mixed up with those. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So it's 3 times x minus 5. By all means, if you are ready to roll and you're like, I'm just going to go ahead and distribute that, go ahead and do that. I want to make sure in this video, with our COVID break and everything, you get a chance to see where each and every step comes from. All right, so 12 divided by 4 give me the 3. 12 divided by 3 give me the 4. 12 times 1 for the 12x, and 12 times 1 for the 12. And now I'm just going to distribute 3x minus 15 plus 12 minus 12x, 12x plus 12. All right, I have a couple like terms. You can say a lot. That's not a lot. You guys have seen bigger problems than this. So I'm going to go ahead and put some like terms together. -9x minus 3 less than 12x plus 12. And let's go ahead and add the 9x. So we're going to be at 21x over here, and subtract the 12 to get -15. Divide by 21. X, I divided by a +21, so we're going to keep x as greater than, shaped as a less than. I always read it from the variable. That way it makes more sense if we put it anywhere else. 15 over 21, that's going to reduce both divisible by 3, so -5/7. Okay, so we could find that on the number line. Not part of our task today, it was in the last section, so we're not going to add that on. All right, that's our quick review.